Act 3, Scene 1 begins with Tybalt looking for Romeo, wanting to issue this challenge, wanting to duel him and kill him for coming to the Capulets feast, which he saw as a slight. And initially Romeo's not there, but then he does arrive to join Mercutio and Benvolio. Tybalt calls him a villain, and Romeo responds very calmly and lovingly and says, "Villain am I none," and he says that he has reason to love thee better than thou canst devise. Obviously he's come straight from his wedding to Juliet, which again is Shakespeare's use of structure there, so juxtaposing that scene where they are in love and getting married with this scene where Juliet's cousin is trying to kill Romeo, so again suggesting that their love is doomed, and increasing that tension there, because of the contrast between them being so happy and then their happiness being destroyed so quickly. So Romeo is very calm and loving. Tybalt's not happy with that and is trying to provoke him to accept the challenge. And you see from Mercutio's reaction that what Romeo does is considered dishonourable, and Mercutio says, "Oh, calm, dishonourable, vile submission." So he sees it as dishonourable and I think unmanly, the opposite of what an honourable man should do. And Mercutio has that extreme reaction because, well, for a start, he and Benvolio were so confident that Romeo would accept the challenge, and because he thinks that Romeo is losing his honour. So Mercutio decides to fight Tybalt instead, because he can't bear to see this happen. And Romeo intervenes, tries to stop it, and because he intervenes, Mercutio is stabbed by Tybalt under Romeo's arm. So Mercutio is dying, and he says, or cries out, "A plague are both your houses." So he's cursing both the Capulets and the Montagues, which emphasises that pettiness of that feud, because although Mercutio is basically willing to die for it, or at least when he started the duel he was, and then he realises as he's dying that he has essentially given his life up for nothing, and the fact that he says a plague on both your houses, showing that he feels that his death has been for nothing. A plague, the idea of something destructive, fast spreading, evil, and the idea that the same end is going to come to both of the houses, that they're both going to suffer vastly for this feud. And the fact that Mercutio, who up to this point has always been quite a kind of jovial, witty character, but that he cries out this curse as he's dying, I think really emphasises how serious the situation is. So Romeo is enraged by this, and he says, "Fire-eyed fury, be my conduct now." So the idea that he seems to kind of give up responsibility, that he gives in to the rage. Fire-eyed fury, the idea of something fiery, destructive, spreading quickly, bringing destruction, devastation, something that's out of control, hard to stop. But the sense that he chooses to give himself up to that. Again, linking to the idea that Romeo tends to kind of absolve himself of responsibility, that he doesn't take responsibility. And then afterwards, after he has killed Tybalt, he says, "I am fortune's fool." So a fool being like a court jester, so the idea that he's being controlled by fortune, that fortune is kind of being cruel to him and almost laughing at him, enjoying his misfortune. Again, linking to that idea that Romeo doesn't necessarily acknowledge his own responsibility and his own decisions, but equally the idea that fate has been against them from the start, which we saw from the prologue. So then after Romeo has killed Tybalt, because Tybalt killed Mercutio, the prince arrives, and he sentences Romeo to exile rather than death, because Tybalt had killed Mercutio, which the Montagues argue is a kind of justice, although Lady Capulet is not satisfied with that and she wants Romeo dead. But the prince says that banishment is his judgment, and he says mercy but murders, pardoning those that kill. So he's basically saying that he needs to banish Romeo. He can't show him mercy because that will just lead to more death, which is what's happened so far with the feud. And again, linking back to this idea of good coming from bad, that he has to be harsh to create a good punishment, kind of like the idea that he has to be cruel to be kind, that he needs to be harsh and extreme because the feud is killing so many people.